Be Frankie.
Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix. Yeah, I'm striving for greatness, trying to make it out. We're stuck in the matrix.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy B-Dell. If you're new to this channel, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. In today's transmission, I'm going to give an eschatological breakdown of the prophetic divination of Leviathan and how it's connected to the Black Sun prophecy that's acclimated to the mythology of cryptozoology when you're talking about the resurgence of Draconian reptilians, when you have Leviathan being aroused according to Job chapter 3, verse 8. And this is also in alignment to the 47th president as we go into tribulation season. Right, man, this video right here is the one you want to share, because this video is going to give you all the chess pieces in this fifth dimensional chess game that we playing with the deep state shadow government and the plutocracy and the oligarchs and the white hats. Now, it's so much information, I don't know where to start, but you know, because it's one of those things where we got to piece the information together and we have to make it sound intrinsically truthful to the masses. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we finna get straight to it. So we've been seeing this anomaly and this phenomenon talking about Leviathan being discovered all throughout planet Earth. Now, the inception of this energy, the inception of this anomaly started back during the inception point of the April 8th solar eclipse, which was basically the personification of an omen when you're talking about the propagation of the Black Sun prophecy. Right, as you see the Black Sun at the top right, and you have Leviathan in the water in the geographical land masses of America. Now, as we get into Leviathan, it's based on biblical context and biblical prophecy, right? So what you're looking at right here is Leviathan. Leviathan is also esoterically another name for Tiamat. Tiamat is another name for planet Kai. Planet Kai comes from the word Anunnaki because it means those sent by Anu to Ki. Ki means Kai. Kai means planet Earth. Planet Earth is planet Tiamat. Planet Tiamat is also known as Leviathan. Leviathan is also known as the comprised third density of the demiurge. So you have Leviathan eating its own tail, which is also known as a serpent, which is why you have a Freemasonic symbol and a sigil right in the middle, which represents the blueprint of the demiurge within the infrastructure of the heliocentric model, or whether you're looking at the concept of the world being flat. So now, when we get into the context of Leviathan, Leviathan is also acclimated to the Canaanite goddess, right? Because it comes from the word Latin, which means lot. And that energy is also connected to the signs of the times at the close of an age, because at the close of an age, that is the precursor to the Great Tribulation season, which is why I put this video out 2 weeks ago. You got to watch this video, 2024 Prophecy Watch, as you have the trumpets being basically trumping during the time of the Great Tribulation season as you go into election season, right? So you got to watch this video right here called The Tribulation and the Watchers. I put this video out 2 weeks ago. It's got about 28,000 views. So it did, you know, pretty well, because the information in this video was, you know, undeniable about what everything that's going on right now in present day time. So now, when you understand the historical contextual origins of Leviathan. Leviathan, like I said, is also known as a dragon-like Tiamat. Tiamat is another nomenclature title for planet Earth, which is also the embodiment of the primordial sea, right? So this is also in conjunction with the whole Anunnaki allegory, right? Because when you're talking about King Gu is also known as the artificial celestial megastructure, which is also known as the moon, right? Which is a quantum satellite that works in conjunction with planet Tiamat that keep the planet in a state of third density, which is based on the holographic projection of everything in the photon-like spectrum. So that's why Tiamat is also known as the primordial Babylonian goddess of the ocean, and also the personification of chaos. So when you go to Job chapter 3, verse 8, it says that Leviathan is going to be aroused. When Leviathan is aroused, that is the precursor to chaos, a chaotic energy on the planet, right? So all this mythology in these allegories in the Bible is works in conjunction with the whole mythology talking about the worlds beyond the ice wall, because the ice wall has 4 different gates. You got the Tiger's Gate, the Serpent Gate, the Sentinel's Gate, and the Leviathan Gate. Now, the Sentinelese people, those are the people who are basically gatekeeping many different, outsiders to get from Hollow Earth, but that's a whole different transmission. We're going to talk about that in a different time as we have the resurgence of the truth that's coming out during the age of Aquarius. So you have the Tiger's Gate. It's said to be guarded by a tiger-headed creature known as Nidhogg. And then you got the Serpent's Gate guarded by a serpent-headed monster called Midgard Serpent. Then you got the Sentinelese Gate is guarded by a pair of Sentinelese known gatekeepers, which is a tribe. Now, this same tribe that I was talking about, they basically unalived a missionary who was trying to infiltrate that geographical landmass of the Sentinelese people, because they are known as the gatekeepers. They are still connected to the Fibonacci sequence of nature, and they hold the cosmic and the celestial secrets of everything in third density. And then you have the Leviathan Gate. It's guarded by the sea creature Leviathan, which is also connected to a form of biblical context and prophecy. According to the lore and the mythology surrounding around the ice wall and the 4 gates, each of the creatures play a specific role guarding and protecting the individual gates. Now, what you're looking at right here is the world beyond the ice walls. Now, you have the Asgard Gate, where the Asgard wall, and then you have the frozen wastelands, then you have the scorched wastelands. Now, when you look at the outside infrastructure of these land masses, when you look at my cursor right here, these outskirts is where Leviathan is supposed to be at. But there's a video that's been surfacing online. They said it in real time. I can't find the video, but he said that the dragon is on the loose. They said that on national television verbatim during the time of Hurricane Beryl. During the time when Houston had that big ass hurricane, and they was having all the all those anomalies with the weather that was going on. Now, one thing you got to understand, this also works in conjunction with the whole mythology of the star Polaris and the black sun, right? The galactic sun having this unification process with the black sun, because the star Polaris is a representation of the conscious mind, and the black sun is also the personification of the subconscious mind. And when you have those centripetal and the centrifugal forces conjoining together, that creates a whole phenomenon of a consciousness over the planet that operates on fractions of light, that basically exposes everything within the better simulation of reality, right? So this is why the Freemasonic logo is basically comprised of a tetrahedron. A tetrahedron is also known as the seal of Solomon, the soul of man, the soul of earth. The black sun is the soul of earth, which is also known as the womb of creation, the supersonic battery that gives power to the 2 celestial bodies within the firmament, right? Which are basically amplifiers and converters and buffers for the galactic sun outside of the dome, which is known as the 5th dimensional state. So the black sun is also known as the primordial energy of Azazel. right? So all this correlates to the Theosophical Society. When you look at the sigil system, it shows you the seal of Solomon, right? Some people call it the Star of David, or some people call it the Star of Renfran. But the inception point is really the seal of Solomon, which means the soul of man. The pyramids, two pyramids. Pyramid means fire in the middle. That fire in the middle is the soul. When you have the unification of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, which is why you see the Ankh in the middle. That's why the sigil system of the seal of Solomon is based on Christ consciousness, meaning that it basically embodies all knowledge on the planet by way of the science of circumology, meaning that you understand all perspectives to get one truth, right? So within the infrastructure of this sigil system, you see the Leviathan serpent around the tetrahedron seal of Solomon, which is also known as the same seal that Thoth had when you're talking about the emerald tablets. We're going to get into that as we get through the presentation. All this is going to come full circle when you're talking about, you know, Trump and things of that nature, and the Anunnaki, the Black Sun. All this is going to come full circle because everything is esoterically connected. Now, when you understand the esoteric occultism of the Theosophical Society, the serpent is a symbol that basically initiates a wise energy. The serpent biting its own tail is basically the personification of an ancient symbol that implies cylindrical nature of the cosmos, right? Because energy expands and returns to itself by way of a vortex energy. That's why nothing's new is under the sun. Everything is basically energy. Energy expands and returns to itself. So then you have the serpent shedding its seven skins, which is connected to the seven heavens, because the seven heavens operates on fractions of light that basically dematerializes everything within the serpentine infrastructure of Draconian law. When you understand that we live in this faction of the demiurge, which is being ruled by serpentine archons, which is also known as your cherubim. Then you have the serpent and the egg. These two symbols are associated with the serpent symbolizes infinity, while the egg, called the mundane egg, symbolizes manifestation of the universe, of the subsystems within the infrastructure of the solar system. When the egg is swallowed by the serpent, the cycles of the cosmic or galactic solar system activity ends. So that's why I said we at the end of the close of the age. That's why Leviathan is being talked about during this time period, right? Leviathan being discovered, right? So with that being said, I'm going to show you a video that basically correlates to everything that I just said.
Its name has been suggested by some scholars to suggest Leviathan is a primeval sea serpent that encircles the earth with its body, which is a belief held by some of the Israelites' neighbors.
So that's what I was basically talking about. Look, you got the serpent around the infrastructure of the flat earth model, right? Whether you believe in the heliocentric model or flat earth, you know, we cannot negate the fact that we live in a Draconian society under Draconian law. This is why I said the archonic forces are Draconian entities. The Draconian entities use Leviathan as a gatekeeper to where you're not able to travel the celestial seas to other worlds beyond the ice wall, right? Because as I was telling you before, the Black Sun prophecy is acclimated to the fact that when you have the Black Sun unifying with the star Polaris, that creates this emerald energy. That emerald energy is cosmic energy. That cosmic energy is gamma radiation. Gamma radiation is ether. Ether basically dismantles and exposes everything within third density. So this is where you're going to get the exposing of governments, the exposing of Draconian reptilians. This is what this is all about. Everything is basically esoterically connected. So that's why, like I said, the serpent eating his tail. And you also cannot negate the fact that we in the dragon year, right? This is the year of the dragon. All this is, everything is connected. This is why in the movie Supercell, the guy's name was Michael. Michael is Mikael. Mikael is Melchizedek. Melchizedek is El Kadir. El Kadir is the green one. The green one is the ether. The ether exposes everything. Ether is Michael, right? We finna get into it, man, because all this stuff is allegorical. I'm not done with showing you the rest of that video, but I just got to show you why they do what they do in the form of symbolism, right? That's why, like I said, when you look at the walls of Asgard, the frozen wastelands, the scorched wastelands, that's where Leviathan was basically gatekeeping the demiurge for the archons, right? But like I said, now we in the age of Aquarius, everything is being exposed. Job chapter 3, verse 8. Job chapter 3, verse 8, right? What does it say? Leviathan would be aroused. And what they say on national television the other day during the hurricane down in Houston, Texas, he said that the dragon is on the loose, right? So it's not a coincidence that all this stuff is going on right now. So I'm going to go back and play the video once again.
Leviathan's name has been suggested by some scholars to suggest Leviathan is a primeval sea serpent that encircles the earth with its body, which is a belief held by some of the Israelites' neighbors.
100%. There's a serpent's head. There's a serpent's tail in his mouth. Serpent. Just happened there, right by Leviathan's head. Maybe he's breathing. Maybe that's what's causing the waves.
Leviathan's name has been suggested.
So this is not a coincidence. It's all this stuff is working in conjunction, because you didn't have this resurgence of this Leviathan energy on the planet. It didn't happen until the inception point of the April 8th solar eclipse, right? One thing about people, when it comes to this esoteric knowledge, when it comes to people within this whole infrastructure of the conscious community, you know, I'm not, I don't just jump on certain topics because it's trendy. I still bring back old information and align it with the new information. I'm still talking about the April 8th solar eclipse because it basically works in conjunction with everything that's taking place right now. That solar eclipse was the Black Sun prophecy. That was an omen that was basically taking place during that time period, which basically leads up to everything that's going on when you're talking about Leviathan, the beast, as your so-called 47th president, right? You got to be careful of what we're saying on these platforms now, because everything is happening in real time and everything is basically unfolding, and it's going to get to the point where I'm going to have to talk in code all throughout, certain videos, because all this stuff is being revealed. Now, when you go to this publication right here, it shows you this emulation of the ice and fire. NASA reveals a giant green dragon in Iceland's sky that came from the hole in the sun's corona. Now, what you're seeing right here is ether, right? And that same ether is also comprised of the same energies of Ra. Ra is also known as the conscious mind, equated to the celestial body of the sun. Amun is also the personification of the black sun, which is a representation of the conscious mind. So when you have Ra and Amun working in unification, that creates the Christ consciousness. The Christ consciousness is Michael, Melchizedek, El Qadir, ether, right? You can only activate that energy due to the tetrahedron energy that's coming from the cosmic waters. So with that being said, that means that the aurora borealis is basically the aura of Ra. The aura of Ra happens when you have the unification of the star Polaris and the black sun working in synergy that creates a torus and a vector equilibrium, as you have energy expands and returns to itself, which creates a geometric pattern of the dodecahedron, which is also known as the quintessential alchemical element, the fifth element, which is also known as ether, that basically activates the four basic elements, which is also connected to the doctrines of signatures and biblical context of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, right? Earth, air, water, fire, right? And when it basically amalgamates, that's what basically creates this tetrahedron, which is the same symbol they use in the Theosophical Society. You see the black triangle right here. The black triangle is a Tesla angular radiation of the black sun. The white triangle you see right here is the Tesla angular radiation of the star Polaris, the galactic sun. When you have both of them unified together, you see in the middle, you have the Ankh, which is basically the representation of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, which is basically the epitome of the cosmic convergence. You get that cosmic convergence when you have the centripetal and the centrifugal forces that activates the energy of the cosmos when you have this gamma radiation manipulating everything in the photon light spectrum. So this is why they use this sigil in the Theosophical Society. And you have the serpent right here because this energy of Michael, ether, Melchizedek, and the olfactory nerve that activates the master gland, the hypothalamus gland, and the pituitary gland, and the pineal gland, all these energies basically exposes everything within the infrastructure of the demiurge. Now, I don't want to get too far in the presentation. Like I said, we freestyling. We just go off the top. But as I was telling you before, the black sun unifying with the star Polaris. I got to show you because you got to understand the whole perception of the 25,000 year verification period of the precessional circle of the equinox. Because look, when you look at the top right here, where my cursor is, that is the star Polaris that operates on fractions of light that gives energy to the two simulated celestial bodies of the sun and the moon. Then you have the black sun, the supersonic battery of planet Earth. So when the black sun comes from hollow Earth and aligns with the star Polaris, that's when you're going to get your great solar flash. That great solar flash is going to put a green energy all over the planet. That green etheric energy, that's what Thoth was talking about. It's a consciousness. It's an intelligence. It's an intelligence that basically manipulates everything that was based on the Piscean age of darkness, which was basically the embodiment of psychological operation and indoctrination, right? So now, that's what's going to create the great solar flash when you have those two celestial bodies of the star Polaris and the black sun unifying together. That is going to happen, right? And it's going to activate the chosen ones. So the great solar flash, incoming transformative higher vibrational cosmic energy. Every 25,000 years, a great solar flash wipes out all lower vibrational energies, evil in our solar system. Our sun is expected to flash approximately. We not finna get into that because, like I said, we don't date set on this channel. We might give, certain speculation about certain things might happen, but one thing I don't do, we don't date set. They date set it that this great solar flash was going to happen in 2023, and we in 2024 right now, and nothing happened. So no negative entities would be able to withstand the new energies in the solar system from the great solar flash. To prepare humanity is asked to meditate and remain in the state of compassion, forgiveness, and peace in service to others. This will maintain the mass consciousness in a positive vibration that is harmonious, which is based on the cosmic convergence, which is basically the unification of the 144,000 for entering into 5D space and time reality after the great solar flash. So we don't have much time left on this planet when this phenomenon is going to happen, because this is a real thing. When you have that, when those two celestial bodies, the true spiritual sun, the star Polaris outside of the dome, because one thing you got to understand about the inception of this prison planet, everything was under the Draconian star constellation that basically worked in tandem with the age of Pisces, Taurus, and Aries. That was the age of darkness, right? That was also known as your so-called clay age, the age of mankind. But the age of mankind has reached its verification period. So that's why they say that Satan only has 6,000 years dominion on the planet. because we're not under the Draconian star constellation in the precessional circle. It's transmuted and shifted the shift. This is where you're talking about the shift, the fifth dimensional shift, going from the Draconian star constellation to the star Polaris. The star Polaris is the fifth dimensional galactic sun that basically merges in with the black sun. That is the unification process. Because when you understand that we are microcosm of the macrocosm, we have those same energies within us too. Because those two celestial bodies represents the conscious and the subconscious mind. You got to be balanced, because as I was telling you before, equilibrium is God. God is the highest extension of the mind, which use the elements of matter to express itself. You got to be balanced mentally. So this is the activation during that time period when you have the age of the golden race, the 144,000, the age of the golden race, as we have the 25,000 years cycle known as the precessional circle of the equinox, and our solar system crosses a galactic equator and enters into a hyperdimensional dense energy cloud that basically increases the vibration particles within the photon light spectrum. This happens when you have the activation of our DNA and basically creates this spiritual awakening symptoms all over the planet. So like I said, this is where you go into the third density to fourth density, fifth density, all the way up to the ninth density, right? To where you activate your fifth dimensional light body, which is also known as your Zohar body, when I was talking about that in the Supercell movie. Because the Zohar body is Melchizedek, Michael, right? Ether, your etheric self, right? Because this meat suit that we living in right now, that is basically the symbology of the gematria body, because it's connected to the simulation. The simulation operates by way of a binary code system of mathematical numbers of gematria. So that's why everything in the universe is mathematical. Everything in the universe is mathematical, because when you trap light within the photon light spectrum, everything in third density is comprised of carbon. The carbon is connected to the binary code system of the simulation that works in tandem with Kingu, which is also known as the moon, that was also working in conjunction with Leviathan, right? I hope you guys got your notes out for this. Now, it's imperative you understand that when you look at Tahuti or Thoth, what you see right here in his hand is the sigil of the Seal of Solomon. That is basically the unification of the black sun and the star Polaris, the conscious and the subconscious mind. That's what that's basically talking about. And then you see he has the Ankh right here, because the Ankh is basically the personification of the magnetic device that has a field amplifier and it operates on somatic frequencies. Those somatic frequencies is the dodecahedron. That dodecahedron, that green emerald energy, right? That consciousness, that gamma radiation, that dodecahedron, that's ether, right? Those two celestial bodies of the star Polaris and the black sun creates this, the Seal of Solomon, the soul of the earth, right? I don't want to get too far. Let me see if I got some videos that's connected to what I'm saying. Because once I get in the zone, I'm in the zone. Right? Perfect. So I do have a video. So what you're looking at right here, you're going to see the shifting of the energy, because just like in within the infrastructure of the precessional circle of the equinox, you have the shifting of different stars and suns and whatever. The same thing happens to the black sun at the bottom right here.
And it's up from the magnetic north.
At the bottom right here, you see the black sun.
On the top of the ceiling of our toroidal field, black sun's electromagnetic field creates the stars.
So that black sun creates a toroidal field, like I said, where energy expands and returns to itself. So when you understand the sigil of the Freemasonic symbol, when you look at it, it's basically the embodiment of what happens inside the earth and outside of the dome.
Sections of the great depths and energy spots of Earth. Diameter of black sun's motion is changing, a fact that makes all the electromagnetic field dynamic. On our toroidal ceiling, at the place where Polaris happens, there is a reverse direction refraction of the cosmic energy that comes from a black sun.
So, like I said, if you look closely, right, I'm gonna go back because you know what I'm saying, everything, you know, the you gotta understand their symbolism. Symbolism is going to be their downfall. So when you understand their symbolism, you will know where they got all this shit from, right? The black sun is inside hollow earth. Cause I remember I did I broke down the occult science of the occult science of the solar eclipse, because the black sun, like I said, it was known as a supersonic battery, because we all know that when you understand the mythology of biblical context, your so-called Jesus was crucified during the time of a solar eclipse, right? And he was crucified on Mount Calvary. Calvary is also known as a nomenclature title for Golgotha. Golgotha is also known as the place of the skull. The place of the skull is a place called Skull Island, which is in Hollow Earth, which also works in conjunction with King Kong. When you got Godzilla, which is also known as your Leviathan. So all this stuff, man, it basically works in conjunction when you understand the symbolism behind it. That's why it's imperative that we study. We got to study and understand what's going to take place like later on in the future, right? So now back to the video.
This refraction separates the cosmic energy to energy plus that creates sun.
Because remember, I was telling you, the two celestial bodies that you have in our solar system, it operates on fractions of light. Those fractions of light are basically working in tandem from the two real celestial bodies of the black sun and the star Polaris. That's how these the sun is basically a converter and the moon is basically a buffer. And they basically converting energy from those two celestial bodies.
Minus that creates the moon below where the refracted energies are focusing. Last refraction of the cosmic energy works like a limit to the minus refraction when these refractions are closed.
So when you look at that, phenomenon and those vortexes of energy, everything has a concentric interstellar vortex portal that takes you to a different space and time. When it takes you to a different space and time, that black sun is that black hole that takes you to fifth dimensional states when you're talking about the interstellar gateway or your so-called halls of immensity.
Refractions are closed.
Also, now that I just now had to download, when you also talking about the energy of the 13th zodiac sign, which is the serpentine zodiac sign, which is the energy of Ophiuchus. I remember I did that video talking about the solar eclipse as well, talking about the resurgence of Ophiuchus, right? That's basically talking about the dismantling process of Leviathan energy, the dismantling of the Draconian energy on the planet.
That's why there is a relation between the constellation difference between the sun and the moon's phases. The conical shape refraction that creates the sun plus is on the same constellation as the refraction that creates the moon minus. The first one neutralizes the second. In this way, we have the new moon. Because of the dynamic of the refraction, every day there's a different position between these two conical shape refractions, and in this way we have the moon's phases. When these refractions are opposite, there is no neutralization of the moon's conical refraction from the sun's one, so only in this case we have the full moon. As the sun's refraction is getting closer again, we have the rest of the moon's phases till the new moon. When the angle of incidence of the black sun below is big, the sun and moon are very close. When they are at the same constellation, we have the new moon. In this case, the conical refraction of the sun completely neutralizes the moon's one. As the angle of the incidence is getting smaller, we have the first quarter of the moon. In this case, the sun's conical refraction hides the half of the moon's refraction from left if we are northern the moon's path, or right if we're southern, when the axis of moon's phases is vertical to the horizon. The angle of incidence is the smallest, we have the full moon. In this case, the two refractions are opposite and do not affect each other. Finally, when the angle of incidence is getting bigger, we have the third quarter, and in this case, the sun's conical refraction hides the right half of moon's refraction when the axis of phases is vertical to the horizon, when we are northern the moon's path, or the left if we are southern.
So now that you got a good idea about how there's an orbitation where the black sun is inside the planet, right? So when you had the unification, the star Polaris and the black sun merging together, that creates that emerald energy. That's why you see Tahuti, Thoth, whatever you want to call him, he's holding the seal of Solomon, which is basically two triangles. Those two triangles are known as your star Polaris and the black sun. That's what he's holding. And when they unify together, it creates this green emerald energy all over the planet, which is also known as the aurora borealis is going to be all over the planet. That anomaly hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. And that's going to be activate a certain consciousness on the planet intrinsically. It might happen in fractions where you see it a little bit here and there, but it hasn't happened all over the planet. I'm talking about the sky being completely green, because that is basically the aura of Ra, the aurora borealis, right? Which is the black sun and the star Polaris unifying together, which is why Thoth, the Atlantean priest god, he's holding the sigil of the seal of Solomon. That's the soul. That energy is the soul of the earth that activates the Schumann resonance, which is also known as the heartbeat of planet Earth. Because as I was telling you before, ain't the heart is the seat of the soul in ancient Kemetic spirituality. Then you got the Ankh, which is also known as a field amplifier that creates a somatic frequency. When that happens, when you read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, it talks about how other reptilians are on the world, and the kingdom of the shadows and hidden places, planes unknown to man, are interspatable planes, a fraction that is beyond the visible spectrum of the human being. The phrase only by sound their faces could be seen refers to the fact that a certain frequency of sound destroys the energy projected by the human holograms, which is based on liquid crystal polarization. And then what is behind can be decoded, the reptilian form. And I also heard that if you say the word Kininichi, the word Kininichi has an ethereal energy, just kind of like a flute. Look up the vibrational octave frequency of a flute. A flute has the same ethereal energy. Anything that basically contains ether basically exposes everything in the simulation. It exposes the liquid crystal polarization. It exposes the liquid crystal technology within the vetted simulation of reality. So when you say the word Kininichi, they say that's an ancient word that has an ethereal octave that basically shows people who are masquerading as humans who are actually Draconian reptilian. That's what they say. But that same energy of the emerald tablets, like I said, it creates that solar flash. That solar flash is going to be activated when you have the unification of those two suns. That's going to put a green energy over the planet and expose everything within the simulation. So that's why the seal of Solomon, or the sigil of the tetrahedron, that is basically known as the greatest sign, right? Because it's based on the science of circumology, because it understands all perspectives. It understands all forms of knowledge to get one truth, right? As you have the same sigil right here, because when you're looking at this circle is the firmament. Because when you understand black magic, everything is within the infrastructure of a circle. That's how you trap energy. You trap energy inside of a circle. So within the infrastructure of that circle, you have the tetrahedron, the same seal of Solomon, which is basically a certain consciousness being entrapped by the circle of the firmament. And then outside the firmament, you got Leviathan. You see, you can't make this up, right? So now, since we talking about dragons and we talking about Leviathan, we talking about Draconian reptilians, we're talking about many different things that's connected to a form of prophetic divination. When you talking about the dragon and the beast and the so-called false prophet, according to Revelation 16:13, right? And the first beast came down from the heavens, and the beast is called the dragon. Revelations 12:3. That's why it's basically in alignment, as I was telling you before, about the transliteration of the book of Revelation of El's Holy and Jill. The evil reptilian gave power to the beast in Revelation 17:17. The third beast came from the earth, and the beast is called the false prophet, your so-called Trump. And then you got Revelations 13-15 and 16. The dragon, the first beast encounter is the dragon. John first sees him a sign in the heavens. The dragon acts as a vision to attempt to devour the Christ child as soon as he's born. And when you're born, that is your spiritual awakening. The Christ is you. The Christ is not a actual person. The Christ is an energy. The Christ is an ethereal energy. It's a consciousness, right? That's that green etheric energy over the planet. That is going to be prophesied when you have the black sun and the star Polaris unifying together. That is the Christ, right? That's going to activate the 144,000. So that's why they're coming out with movies like Supercell, because that same energy that I'm talking about that's connected to the star Polaris and the black sun is how you get your spiritual gifts. Now, it also talks about how the dragon and his angels makes wars with. Yeah, man, this is crazy, because I was telling you before, the main character in the movie Supercell, what was his name? Michael. Michael is Melchizedek. Melchizedek is El Qadir. El Qadir is the green one. The green one is ether. Ether is gamma radiation. Gamma radiation happens. The ether, it happened and it's activated by the black sun and the star Polaris. So that's why it says right here, John, it says right here verbatim, the dragon and his angels makes war in the heaven with Michael and his angels. Michael and the 144,000. So that means that dragon, right, is what this is basically talking about. It's Leviathan. Then you have Michael. This is the dodecahedron. When you're looking at this sigil right here, the seal of Solomon is Michael. The seal of Solomon is you. You are the Christ. That is the Christ consciousness, because it's activated by two celestial bodies, right? Hope I'm not, confusing nobody. I'm trying to be simplistic as possible. So when you go to Revelations 13:3, now this is also in alignment to the whole Trump incident, when you're talking about him being the precursor to the 47th president and things of that nature. So Revelations 13:3, one of his heads seemed to have a mortal wound, but its mortal wound has healed. And the whole earth marveled as they followed the beast. So this is going to be the precursor to making Donald Trump this martyr, and he's going to propagate this this manifesto of Project 2025. So this is also connected to biblical prophecy, right, of what happened and what took place, right, because he was wounded in the head. The ear is connected to the head. So when you look at this, what the Trump incident, you got Trump what happened to Trump. Hold on. I don't know why it's doing that. But when you see Trump, it says it shows the 137 is the prime number for 33, and it says right here verbatim that the election, well, 33 weeks and 3 days after JFK's anniversary, and 3 months and 3 weeks and 3 days before the election. That's when that Trump event happened, right? So it's not a coincidence that the sigil of Leviathan is also in conjunction with the sigil of Lucifer and the sigil of Antichrist. It's also all based on the sigil system of satanic worship. So that's why we must get into this right here, because we're talking about Donald Trump. I did not mean to do that. Hold on for a second, guys. All right. So this is why it says right here, this lady, she's supposed to be some type of oracle or prophet or whatever. But she said the end of the world, blind Bulgarian soothsayer, allegedly says 2025 is the start of humanity's downfall. So this is why I put out this video 3 weeks ago, you know, Project 2025 Decoded, right? I decoded everything. So this is why, shout out to Ani in the Spiritual Shade Room who came up with these illustrations. Now, this is also in conjunction with Revelations 3:22. He who has an ear, let him hear. Now, who got clapped in the ear? This man right here, right? He's also known as a soothsayer. He has a double tongue, right? Which also works in conjunction with this movie right here. They've been putting it in our faces for the longest, right? This movie came out in the early 90s, live action Super Mario Brothers movie, and it shows him, you know, basically politicking and amalgamating with Draconian reptilians in the underworld. And this guy, he looks just like Donald Trump. Not a coincidence. So that means that all this stuff is based on predictive programming. So now I got to show you this video.
On April 18th, 2018, Donald Trump tweeted about Nibiru. At approximately 2:47 p.m., a congratulatory tweet emerged from the then president, Donald Trump's Twitter account. The message was short and simple. It read, "Nibiru beaten, we win." However, within seconds, the tweet was removed not only from his Twitter account, but also scrubbed from the internet and internet archival data records, resulting in a complete cover-up. The ramifications of the tweet are immense. It tells us that President Trump and others in his administration not only know who the Anunnaki are, but that we are at war with them for our freedom. It also shows that Donald Trump has either read the Sumerian texts or been briefed on them.
One thing you also got to understand that there is not just a positive faction of Anunnaki. I told you the Anunnaki are basically comprised of the cherubim and the seraphim. The seraphim are the positive faction, and the cherubim are also known as your archons that's connected to the demiurge, because the cherubim are the fallen angels. The fallen angels is 1/3 of the galaxy that got kicked out by going against the galactical order of Anu. So the negative factions of the Anunnaki is what they're basically talking about, not the positive.
For those who don't know, the Sumerian texts are the oldest written texts on the planet and predate the Bible by 3,500 years. These ancient texts state that aliens from a planet called Nibiru came to a planet named Tiamat to extract gold. However, the largest amounts of gold was deep in the ocean of Tiamat. So these aliens, who are called Anunnaki, set up a huge dome biosphere underwater by separating the waters and putting a firmament in between the waters to keep them separated. They called this biosphere in between the waters to.
So that's where you get your whole concept of see, as I was telling you before, when you see God right here, where my cursor, well, you can see my cursor moving. So God made the dome and separated the waters that were under the dome from the waters from the ones above. That's when he created the firmament. That's why we're under Draconian law. Draconian law is basically the embodiment of ecclesiastical law that is connected to a form of maritime law, right? So, which is basically water law. So that's why when you see the word God with a capital G, that's Satan, right? So it says that is Enlil. Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. So that's basically Satan or God Enlil separated the intergalactic waters from the third dimension. So that's why the archons use Leviathan, the serpent, to basically protect the demiurge.
Them separated. They called this biosphere Earth, which means ground or dirt. And this is why in ancient times, men said the Earth was flat, because they knew we do not live on the planet. We really live at the bottom of an ocean. This is why our sky is blue. They then created an artificial sun for warmth and a moon as a base. They also created animals, plant life, and an atmosphere and everything needed to sustain themselves so they could live comfortably while they extracted gold from the ground. When the work became too difficult for them, they made a slave race of people called Homo sapiens to do the work for them. There is proof that what is written in these texts are real, because Homo sapien is 200,000 years old. The Sumerian texts state they first mined for gold in South Africa, where they have discovered over 25,000 ancient gold mines dating back 200,000 years ago.
And that's when the Agigi rebelled against Enlil, and that's when Enlil basically made a pact with him to create a certain species to overthrow the true Semitic people of your so-called Bible, which is also known as your so-called indigenous people. So that's why Yakub, the mythology of Yakub, what he say, I'm going to create a people that's going to rule over you for 6,000 years. That 6,000 years is up.
These Sumerian texts also state that when these aliens created modern day man, they told us they were our God, and this is where our religions come from. Donald Trump knows that our religions are false. These beings are not God. They are aliens with vast knowledge and extremely advanced technology. They have ruled over mankind for 200,000 years on. Keep us in check with false religions and by denying us the true knowledge of who we are. You don't have to believe the Sumerian texts, but Donald Trump does. He knows that humanity has to read those ancient Sumerian texts and accept what they say as truth and facts for us to have a chance at freedom. What we have been told about God and religion is false. There is another ancient text recently discovered that exposes the truth as well. This new ancient text says
we ain't finna get into that. So that's all of that. But like I said, it basically exposes, what's going on within the simulation. Because that dodecahedron, that energy, that Grenadier energy is going to show you the truth about Dracos and Draconian reptilians, which is why I got another video for you. This is why they use Trump. They see him networking and politicking with Draconian reptilians, right? So even though a lot of people, claim that the mythology of cryptozoology is pseudoscience and it's a conspiracy theory, but what do you got to say about this video that I'm going to show you? This is back during the time, I believe, like the early 90s and the 80s or whatever. During that time, people was not trying to clout chase. Wasn't no social media fame during that time period. People were just living regular lives during this time period. So there's no reason for this guy to be lying about his experience with a Draconian reptilian. And I'm going to play the video.
I was sheriff during the time this lizard man made his appearance in Lee County, and it was during the year.
Turn up the volume a little bit if you can't hear it, or just put it close to your ear until the video's over.
1988. I took this thing very serious because if we turned our backs on it, oh, it wasn't nothing to it. Say it attack somebody's children or even the adults. Not only would I have to leave the county, I would have had to leave the state. This description said it was about 7 foot tall with red glowing eyes, and
He said that the description of the Draconian reptilian was 7 foot tall and it had glowing eyes. And this guy right here in the picture, he said Christopher Davis, he is the one that experienced that whole phenomenon of with the Draconian.
red glowing eyes, and very fast, and it appeared to have 3 long fingers on each hand. Thought it could have been a bear or something he saw. We don't know what it is. But he saw something because nobody could have been frightened like he was. My titles both in the flat. So I got on change about 2 a.m. at night.
He said he's seen it about 2 a.m. at night. Man, this is in 1988. Why would he lie? Right? 1988. What did he got to prove? You know what I'm saying? Are you you know what I mean to tell me that everybody that came across these entities back in the 1980s is crazy? Nah, it's because they actually seen something. Energy don't lie.
So I got on change about 2 a.m. at night. After I was finished changing, I was putting on flat in the jack in the trunk. I looked back. I saw red eyes, big red eyes thing running. Cool. So I jumped in the driver's side, and when I was shutting the door, he grabbed the door. So I jerked the door and shut it and pulled off. I looked in the mirror, I saw a big image and a loud crash on top of the top. I was scratching my head. I said, I can't believe this, but I'm here. I said, okay, draw it. He drew it. Immediately he drew it. At that time, when this first broke, it went all over the world in 3 days' time. And I got calls from all over the world. One of the things that the media has done, they would take it from Chris Davis, and that was all. But this thing, at least 12 people saw it. The morning that I saw what I saw, I was loading the plane right over here, like I always do, and taxied out on the runway here. Started my takeoff roll. There's a point down here that if you're not off the ground, you better throttle back and stop. After that point, you better hope you fly. That's about where I was at the day that this, whatever it was, crossed the runway in front of me. He turned his head, looked at the plane, he looked at it, and turned right back and just, and the thing had a kind of a lope in its walk. And like I said, much taller than you. I would guess 8 and a half, 9 feet tall.
Well, I had a fence up that's part of the swamp with goats, hogs, and the men, we had quit at lunchtime down by myself. I looked around the swamp. Something was peeping out behind the 30 to 36-inch tree. Just a head part was sticking out. I looked at it and it looked at me. I never saw anything like that before in my life. His eye was red, had a head shaped almost like a human head.
But I get up every morning, I open the door and I look out, see where all my kitties are. Open the door and I'm like, what? All their blankets and all their towels were all up and down the driveway. 10 minutes later, Bob was going to go to the hardware store. He comes back in, he says, honey, put on your coat and shoes. I want to show you something. So he comes out in the car. And I mean, we're just like, oh my God, what could have done this? There were pieces, they're sitting over there, some of them that were just like ripped off the car and bent and thrown on the ground. Something definitely big and bad did that to our car. It's been that metal. And I can't see a coyote or a dog doing anything like that. I think if it was a bear, there would have been more damage to the front of the hood. So the sheriff come out and he looked at the car and everything. And then later on, Bob took the car up there and they took blood samples from the car. But to this day, you don't see any cats over on that patio. There's about 7 missing. 6 or 7 missing since that night.
The legend of the lizard man is Lee County. We just need to embrace it. Every town should have an icon, and we just happen to be fortunate enough that it happens to be a lizard man. That he chose us as opposed to us having to go out and find an icon for Lee County. I think he likes us. Maybe he doesn't. He doesn't like cars, obviously, but we'll take him for what he's worth. The economic impact so far has been, in the last 20 years, it's been a positive thing for us here in Bishopville and in Lee County.
A lot of people think this is a Bigfoot, and it has all appearances to be a Bigfoot if you want to believe in that. And anything that we had reports of that run inside of a car doing 40 miles an hour, we could find him. Carolina Country could certainly use it.
Now, if you want to, now it's imperative that I show you videos like this because it's going to show you the truth about Draconian reptilians. Because, like I said, that energy of the black sun amalgamating with the star Polaris, what's going to happen is it's basically going to eradicate everything in third density, and it's going to reveal these entities. It's going to reveal everything. So, like I said, this is all the black sun and the Leviathan prophecy. Put 777 in the chat if you want to see another Draconian story. I got this video on my YouTube, but I'm gonna bring it to the surface because I think it's, you know, important that we learn about what's going on. So I'm gonna go on my YouTube. And there's another Draconian story. It's about this black woman. She's seen a Draconian reptilian. These people are not making this stuff up. Your computer slowed in. All right, you got. All right. For those who don't know how to get to my movies, like to my videos or whatever, all you got to go to the video tab and you just scroll down. It's not that hard to find old videos. There's a lot of stuff that y'all be asking about. I done touched on it already. Y'all just not going to all these videos. So I'm gonna pull up this video talking about the lady, her encounter with a Draconian reptilian. Because more of this phenomenon is going to happen, the more you want to have, you know, the activation of certain celestial bodies.
Israelite sister, and she's going to share her testimony about a family member in the South. I'll just leave it at that, in the South, where, was he a great grandmother?
Great aunt.
A great aunt, a black woman, killed, dead, a reptilian. Now, some may be in disbelief of the whole reptilian agenda. Some people may not believe it. Some people think it's a myth, and while others think it's real. But here we have from our own community, an Israelite sister, not somebody from the Gentile nation or outsider, but somebody within the community. And as Israelites, we wouldn't make up stories to one another about something like this. So she's going to go and give her account of what her great aunt experienced in the 50s when this event took place.
Notice he said in the 1950s.
And you can understand.
Okay. My great aunt relayed this story to me. It was in the late 80s. and my mom and I had gone to visit her to check on her and see how she was doing. She was sitting outside on her front porch. So we were talking, and she always kept her rifle, her double barrel shotgun, right next to her in her rocking chair. My mother was joking with her about the gun. And she said, yeah, I always keep my gun with me because something happened way back a long time ago. And she said, I'm going to tell y'all this story. And she said, it's God, as she called him, is my witness. I swear for God, I'm not lying. So she said it was back in the 50s. She said one night, she and her husband was in the house and he was asleep because they were farmers. And she said the dog started barking, the pigs started doing what they do, oinking, and the cows started mooing. And she said the animals just went crazy on their farm. And they had a lot of animals, not just cows and pigs. They had ducks, they had everything. And so she said that they were just screaming like something was going on. She said she tried to get her husband to go outside and see, and he told her, oh, it's nothing. Just leave it alone. Just go to bed. So she said, no, something going on. The animal's going crazy. So she grabbed her shotgun and she went out to the porch. And she said she didn't see nothing immediately, but then she looked down toward the barn and there was a big pond on the side of the barn. And she said she saw frog man is what she described him, coming up from the side of the barn. And she said it was walking toward her. And she said it wasn't that tall. She stood about maybe 5'4". So she said it was a little bit taller than her. But she said he had webbed hands. And she said he was walking straight to her. And she yelled for it to stop. And she said it kept walking. So she said she stepped off her porch. And she took her double barrel shotgun and she shot it dead.
And to interject for a second, she described that the blood of the reptilian was green.
So then her husband heard the shotgun go off. He came outside. Now they were elderly at this point because in the 80s when she was relaying this story, I think she was in her 80s at that point. So it was early 50s. So she was already in her 50s because they was raising their grandchildren. And she said that she was afraid for the family. And she said when her husband came outside, that was my great uncle, my great grandfather's brother. She said he stepped off the porch and she said, look, I done killed something. It's not human. So they walked out there to the side of the barn. And she said they had killed, she said she called it the frog man. But I know it to be a reptilian. And at that point, when she was relating that story to me, I had never heard anything like that before. And she kept saying, as God is my witness, I swear for God, I'm not telling a lie. This is the honest God's truth. And so, and she wasn't known in the community anyway to be someone who lied. She always was an honest and upright woman. So she said her and her husband, my great uncle, she said they buried that thing because we asked, well, where was it? Where was it? She said they buried it right down there where they killed it, near the barn. And so after they buried it, then the animals got quiet again. And of course, I'm going to deviate for a minute. You know that they always tell you to watch nature, and that's what we have to do. Right. Like when the tsunami hit in Indonesia in 2004, they reported that days before it hit, that dogs and cats and all the animals had gone up into the mountains because they are in tune with the Creator. So they know to flee in instances like that. Well, her animals, they were trying to give off a warning signal. And so they knew something bad was there. But so anyway, they killed it and they buried it. He told her not to tell anybody that story. So she said she didn't tell anybody. So she said about a month later, a little bit less than a month, she said it was nighttime again and they were in their bed. And she said this time, this blue light came over the whole house and they lived in what you call one of those little bitty shacks long time ago. In the countryside, way in the country. They had like several hundred acres of land. That land is still in my family today. And so she said this time her husband got up with her, and the animals went crazy again. So she said they went out there with both of their shotguns, went to the porch, and they saw what they call a UFO, a flying saucer.
Now, was it in the air or was it on the ground?
It had landed on the ground beside the pond.
Okay.
So she said it was on the ground, and she said it opened up, and she said, "Oh, they coming to kill us because we done killed this thing." She said they came off the ship, and she said they went straight to the mound where they had buried this thing, and they put their hand over the ground, and this dead frogman thing that she killed, it just came up out of the ground. It wasn't alive. It was flat and it was dead. But they took that thing and they put it on the ship. Then she said they went over to the pond and they raised up their hands and a spaceship came out of their pond. Now their pond was bigger than a regular sized pond. It was almost the size of like a small lake. But she said it had flown. That's how he had, I guess, got there. It had flown into the bottom of the lake. And if any of you all keep up with some of the stories that other countries recount about the UFOs, they'll tell you that some people, especially over China and the Asian areas, spot them with their spaceships coming up out of the deep water. So they got the spaceship out of the water, and she said, and they looked at them, didn't do anything, didn't say anything, didn't come toward them, got back on the ship and zoomed back into the sky. And she said, for the longest, she didn't tell anybody. She said, but she told a couple people later on that said she was crazy. So she was just telling my mom and I that to let us know that that's why she always kept her double-barrel shotgun right next to her. Even she said, when I go to the chicken coop, anywhere, I always, because I don't know if they ever going to come back. And that's what she said.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So here you have it.
So with that being said, man, it's not a coincidence that all this stuff is happening. Because once that prophecy of the black sun amalgamates with the star Polaris, you're going to be able to see these entities. You're going to be able to see Mr. Trump, the 47th president, for who he is, right? Because it's also not a coincidence that he was also known as the 45th president, right? 4 + 5 = 9. 9 is equated to completion. In my opinion, I think he's going to be the 47th president. 4 + 7 = 11, 9/11, or 119. That is the sigil of your so-called Draconian, satanic Antichrist. So, like I said, all this stuff they got going on is predictive programming. They've been putting it in our faces for the longest. And on the Illuminati card, they've been, this publication came out in the early 90s. They've been putting it in our faces for so long about who he really is and what factions he's really working with. So this is why you got to get this book by Dr. York. 666 Leviathan, the beast as the Antichrist. And who does that look like right there in the middle? Right? Who does that look like? Mr. Trump. He looks like Mr. Trump. And Dr. York, he put out this publication in the early 2000s, almost, about 20 years ago. So that means that he's seen something prophetically, which is why he has 135 years in prison, right? Because he was tapped into the information. He knew what was going on. So that's why you got, like I said, get this book by Dr. York. Talks about the secret societies, the Leviathan, the Order of the Serpent, the Order of the Luciferians, the Rosicrucian Theosophical Society, the Red Serpent, the Red Dragon organizations or whatever. All this is basically reptilian and draconian worship. So get this publication right here. So for those coming in, I'm going to give a brief rundown and a synopsis so you can understand everything intuitively. So the whole embodiment of this whole transmission is basically exposing the Leviathan anomaly that's taking place on the planet. So the Leviathan prophecy is acclimated to the Black Sun prophecy because Leviathan, the resurgence didn't happen until after the April 8th solar eclipse. So that is equated to the signs of the times, and we at the apex of an end of an age, which leads us into tribulation season, which is why I put this video out 2 weeks ago, right? The Great Tribulation season and the 2024 Prophecy Watch, as you have the Draconian at the bottom right here. So so Leviathan is basically another nomenclature title for Tiamat. Tiamat is another name for planet Earth. So it is also known as the primordial goddess of the ocean, which is basically the personification of chaos. So Leviathan, when you understand the flat Earth model, the worlds beyond the ice wall, Leviathan basically sits at the apex at the walls of Asgard, around the celestial waters. So what happens is when you have the black sun and the celestial sun, I mean the black sun and the galactic sun amalgamating together, that is going to create the unification of an emerald energy all over the planet, and that is going to activate everything intrinsically. Because that's gamma radiation. So that gamma radiation is what you're going to be calling the aurora borealis, but it's going to be all over the planet. Like the sky is going to literally be green, nothing but green, because it's basically the aura of Ra. Ra is the sun, right? Which is why you get your vitamins from Vitality, Amen, Ra. Ra is the sun. That's where you get your energy from, because it creates a dodecahedron. That's the ether. And when you have the unification of the black sun and the celestial in the star Polaris, that is what's going to create the great solar flash. That's going to create a cosmic convergence where you tap into the fifth dimensional light body, which is also known as the Zohar body, and the same sigil of the black sun and the star Polaris amalgamating together creates the seal of Solomon, the dodecahedron. That's ether, right? Ether that creates a somatic frequency, and it unifies the field amplifier. That's the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And that energy is going to expose everything in the simulation. You're going to see things for what it is. It's going to expose Draconians. You know, it's going to expose who Donald Trump and people wearing these skin masks are going to show them who they really are. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Hold on for a second. I appreciate you guys watching this video. Please get this video out there. Share this video 3 to 4 times in group chats and everything, because it's imperative that, you know, we bring in the old knowledge and we use the edification and amalgamate it with the new knowledge. That's the only way you can get an intrinsic and an intuitive understanding about what's going on the planet. Because a lot of people, you know, when it comes to certain mythologies, when it comes to many different things, they're just very much confused about the implications of what's going to happen in third density when you have all these prophecies that's going to be within the infrastructure of this simulation. So everything is based on, like I said, it's prophetic divination. My channel is basically the embodiment of eschatology, meaning that it's basically the science of the end times. That's what I break down. I break it down and I use it with metaphysics and many different other things. So get this video out there, share this video, and I appreciate you guys for sharing and subscribing to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel, and end of transmission.
10:14.
We will put an end to this madness.
It's me again, God. I know it's been a long time since I last called you back on your line. So I hope and I pray for your hand to help me on the ladder to the land. Karma's gonna get to you, and then you'll have a chariot with only one less friend. Now I had distant folks that are looking to my eyes to understand the wisdom he's given and his wealth from the skies. So thanks for this meal that I'm about to receive, and thank you for my health and all the good memories. Thanks for the courage taking on another day, when I used to not believe, but now I know about grace. Stay away from the fire, cause the flames does burn. Go with your gut feeling, when it's wrong you learn. For every one step I take, the Lord takes 2. And do unto others if you want it done unto you. It's me again, God. I know it's been a long time since I last called you back on your line. So I hope and I pray for your hand to help me on the ladder to the land. It's me again, God, I know it's been a long time since I last called you back on your line. So I hope and I pray for your hand to help me on the ladder to the this a completion, the selfish Proto-Grecian, Amerindian, Phoenician. I'm the last of the Mohicans, the bastard of the land, the pen, melanin, accretion. And we just trying to get back to the fact that we was kings and queens of a land before the avalanche seized it. I live on Turtle Island with the rest of the diseased. Better than the medicine for 7 different treatments. Niggas try to ride away but end up getting seasick. The sleep can feel my words like Braille and they're awakened with the penmanship of Hindu script written in them vacant monastery. Honorary payments to the prototype. Tomorrow's only a day away, but nothing happens overnight. The fuck's wrong with going left when you know it's right? Biting off more than I can chew, that's an overbite. Black on black crime is like watching 2 soldiers fight when all along they was on the same page. History. It's me again, God, I know it's been a long time since I last called you back on your line. So I hope and I pray for your hand to help me on the ladder to the land. It's me again, God, I know it's been a long time since I last called you back on your line. So I hope and I pray for your hand to help me on the ladder to the land.